This weekend, Francis Ngannou is making his anticipated return to MMA versus a 6'8" monster named Renan Ferreira. And when this first got announced, me, like a lot of people, thought, who is this guy? Is Francis just going to smoke this guy and it's going to be nothing? But no, when you look into it, this guy could actually be a problem for Francis Ngannou. Now, I won't be predicting any of the other fights on the card because I don't know any other PFL fighters, to be completely honest. I know some PFL fans might be in here calling me a casual, but I really am. You gotta at least be honest. You guys really don't have stars like that. So I'm going to be watching these fights leading up to the main event to see if there's any notable ones, but for now, I'm not going to be predicting any of the other fights. Now, hold on a second. 95% of you guys aren't subscribed. If you enjoy boxing, MMA, or influencer boxing content, I post 3 times a week here, 4 times a week on Fight Week. So subscribe if you're into that content. And that's all I got to say. Before I get into the official prediction that I have, let me tell you why I am a bit worried about Francis going into this fight. Now, like I said, going into this, I didn't know much about Renan Ferreira. I just thought he was a huge dude. I noticed that he was bigger than Francis, which is already not normal. Then you look at him fight, then you see his footwork, moving in and out of range, darting in and out of range, like he's somebody half his size. And I'm not going to lie, the movement part of this fight is getting me a little nervous about Francis, because Francis, even when he was boxing, was very heavy on his feet and wasn't very in and out of range like Ferreira is, so that could be an advantage for Ferreira. And one thing I did notice about Ferreira's game, to be fair, I didn't get to see that many full fights because I didn't have the time to, but his 1-2 is nasty. Like, his straight right hand is very, very nasty, very, very powerful. He has power in all of his punches, but his 1-2 is fast and powerful. And if you guys don't remember, I know it's a different sport, and I get it, but in the Anthony Joshua fight, Francis Ngannou was very, very vulnerable to a straight right hand. And we saw that a powerful straight right hand can knock out Francis. Which again is a different sport, so maybe Francis will be a bit better at guarding it in MMA, but he can't be taking that shot from Ferreira from what I've seen. He has very, very serious power. Renan Ferreira is 13-3, obviously carrying the PFL heavyweight title now, and he previously just beat the Bellator heavyweight champion, so that's some double champ status shit right there. That's pretty badass. Now, is the levels between PFL and the UFC that much different? I'm not gonna lie, I kind of think so. Some of the guys that he was knocking out did not look like true heavyweights in the clips I've seen. Obviously, I don't gotta say much about Francis Ngannou, who's a heavyweight knockout artist in UFC. He left the UFC as a champion, had John Jones duck in the sport for about 3 years. And I also seen that John Jones has been in Renan Ferreira's corner. I wonder if he wants Francis to lose, but he doesn't want to do it himself. That's kind of odd. Now, obviously, this is more than a fight for Francis Ngannou. For the people that don't know, he lost his son Kobe this year. And he's saying that this fight would be a fight that he could finally fight for his son.
Hang off the gloves and stuff. But then I realized that should be a purpose for me. You know, like, I didn't have a chance to fight for my son, man. So I think this is it.
Thank you, Francis. Appreciate that.
Which is awful and upsetting. I was going to be rooting for Francis regardless, but this is just another reason to. Now, something crazy happened in the press conference. I don't know if it was a loss in translation or he just didn't understand what Francis said. But Renan Ferreira in the press conference said that him facing Francis will be the hardest thing that he's going to deal with this year. Basically putting down the death of his son, which was fucked up.
Well, Francis has been going through a tough year in his life, but the toughest challenge in his life and in his year is going to be me. I'm going to be the biggest problem of his year right now. It's a tough puzzle for him to figure out.
Which you could say is mind games, but come on now. I hope he sleeps him for that. Now let me get into the fight. Now, like I said, Renan Ferreira got really good movement and has a really nice 1-2. But from what I've seen, he's literally in love with that combination. And Francis is good enough that if you do it a million times, he is going to catch you. And Renan Ferreira also fights with a low hand style and really depends on his reflexes. Versus Francis, one mistake and you're out. So I expect him to come out with a higher guard than how he usually fights. There's no way. There's no way he just expects his feet to play defense against Francis. If Francis lands one shot, you could just be done with. And people can't forget, Francis against Cyril Gane showed his grappling game. So maybe he shows his grappling game in this fight too. I think it's more likely that Francis does that if he gets caught by that right hand. He's not going to just stand up and duke with him if things aren't going right. Francis will shoot the takedown if necessary. But how do I think this fight's going to go? I think that Francis is going to do it for his son. I think this is going to be a different version of Francis that we ever seen. This might be the best version of Francis we ever seen. Maybe we get a quick knockout if Ferreira comes in with his hands low and then Ngannou just instantly counters him. That would be sick. We'll see how Francis deals with the 1-2, but I see if Francis falls in love with it early, Francis will find the timing of it and catch Renan. So yeah, I think Francis will win by knockout. I think he's going to loop a shot over the 1-2. He's going to duck his head, learn from those boxing lessons that he did, duck under the right hand and throw over the top, and I think he knocks out Renan Ferreira. Maybe we see Francis Ngannou on the ground and win that way, but we don't really know. We really don't know the level between PFL and UFC. This is really the first test of that I've seen. And ever since that Renan Ferreira said that about Francis' son and that this fight is going to be harder for him this year, I think Francis is just going to go out there and kill him. Like, actually just going to go out there and kill him. Now, I don't think immediately. I don't think it'll be round 1. I'll make my official prediction. Francis Ngannou knocks out Renan Ferreira in round 2. I say he counters that 1-2 and comes over top of the overhand TKO, vicious work from Francis like usual. And I don't really know what would be next for him after this fight, to be honest. I don't really know the PFL roster. If Francis loses this fight, his star value will plummet. No matter how good Renan Ferreira was or is, people just didn't really know him like that, and it will just tank his value for a potential comeback to UFC for a shit ton of money. Even a comeback to boxing, they probably won't be over eager because of his name will definitely drop in value. But I don't think he lets the things about his son slide. I think Francis is going to go in there seeing red, and I think he's going to knock out Renan Ferreira. But we'll discuss what's next for Francis Ngannou. If he wins after, that might be a different video next week. We'll see. Now that I got the idea, I probably will. I'll be making an instant reaction video after the card and be filming my reactions to the fights. Now, there is different aspects of the fight I could break down. Like, Renan Ferreira does have a nice teep kick to the body, but I don't necessarily see it being a factor in this fight. I just see it being a scrap in there. That's what I'm hoping for, at least going into it. Let me know if you guys disagree with anything I said in this video. Let me know why you guys picked Ferreira if you disagree. Also, let me know what fights I should be excited for on this card besides the main event. Now, that should be all I gotta say. Like and subscribe and comment. I'm still trying to grow this channel. Turn on notifications if you're not trying to miss posts. Thank you guys for listening to me yap like usual, and peace out.